Hi everybody.
Hi.
Hi, I am Eliz,
I'm Lilyemma.
and this is actually Champagne Whispers.
Yes.
Contrary to what I have said in this notebook. It's quite a good segue.
And you said this morning as well, you said the wrong one.
I actually wrote, I had to write Platinum Mixtape 12 tick because I didn't want to cross it out or anything. For those who are listening to this,
Like now for the rest of your time, you're going to have to be like,
next one
Platinum
tick.
Mixtape tick.
Tick. For those who are listening, you'll just have to, unfortunately, slightly miss out. But for those who are watching, this is a stunning winning ideas notebook.
And you could win this.
Alongside
And a blank one.
Yes, it's actually not going to have this week's. The pages are just stunning. They feel really nice.
Yeah.
It doesn't smell like plastic, which is good. But you could win this. It is complete with, it's got like horseshoe, 8-ball, ace, sevens, a lucky clover. You've got everything for winning ideas.
Yeah.
This, alongside, what else could they win?
A rough trade gift card. I don't remember
Yeah.
how much.
I feel like not all that now.
How
Yeah, it was
much?
£25.
£25 gift card. And just a little guy.
Just a little guy on a keyring. No more explanation.
You should have gotten him.
That is so true. We could have shown all of these things.
Yeah.
But go over to our Instagram to enter, unless you're listening or watching this after December 18th.
Or not in the UK.
Or not, I'm so sorry. That is true. But if it's before that and you're around here somewhere, feel free to go and enter. Or, you know what? If those things don't even interest you in the slightest, I am actually sure you could probably give them someone for Christmas.
Yeah,
Someone
re-gift.
else will, yeah. We are not above regifting in this. It's a safe space if, you don't care for the little key ring. But it could be a good stocking stuffer for, your mum or whatnot.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. After
Should
that,
we...
little plug. Yes, it's Coke time. Coca-Cola. Diet Coke.
If you don't... I feel like we've probably said this before. Eliz and I have a little habit of sending each other voice notes of every can we open.
It's true, we do.
And I feel like we're bringing you guys in on this.
I can show you because I've not played the last one, so it should still be there, I think. Unless I technically did open it. Let me check. Okay, this is what we send to each other every day.
Oh, I talk in this one. What do you say? It really hurt.
And the last one I sent, it's obviously gone. But,
yeah, we both had bad luck with
but
it.
yeah, at 8:26 yesterday, I opened my monster. It wasn't a Coke. I put a bit of resistance.
Yeah.
So hopefully there'll be no resistance now, because otherwise that'll be really embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my mic down. Yeah. Oh, double mic'd up. Uh-oh. 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 Nice.
Yeah, saved it in the end.
Yeah, I got there. Your turn. Good luck.
Thank you.
I'd say mine was like a 7 out of 10.
Becky, if this sounds awful, feel free to cut out this segment.
Beat the 7.
Yeah,
Like
that's
a
like
9.
Chocolate by the 1975's about to play.
Yeah. Cheers.
Champagne
I'm
whispers,
gonna-
drinking Diet Coke.
If you accidentally did hear any of that, I'm so sorry. There's nothing worse than hearing the sound of someone glugging. It's
The
actually...
first sip is incredible.
It's just so crisp. That's what it is.
Right.
If your name was Chris, it could be short for crisp.
Yeah.
Especially because Christopher, there's a P in it.
Yeah.
So it really could,
you could go by Chris.
yeah, crisp. Crispy. Or crispin. Anyway.
Right.
The theme of the week is... What is it?
Rejection.
Yeah, because
I bet you've got some like quirky title for it though. I've just got
don't.
Champagne Whispers episode 12. Rejection.
Well, I mean, technically, rejection is redirection. Agree or disagree, I put. Because I do think it's always topical. And this might be a generalisation. You might have walked through life with everything. But I think in some way or another, be it romantic, career, some sort of like friendship, something arty, whatever, like surely everyone has been rejected in some way.
Yeah, well I was even thinking in like a really like general way, even like asking for a sauce at a restaurant.
You could be
Like, you
rejected.
always have this, because Eliz always asks for mayo. Like no matter
vegan
what
mayo.
restaurant, she's always like, "Do you have any mayo?" And they're always like, "No." But like
That's
that is a form of
rejection.
rejection. Like asking if a bus goes to a certain place, asking if this Uber's yours.
One of the most humbling rejections of all time. Londoners won't get this, but when a bus is coming your way and you put your arm out, it just goes past, and you're like, all right, that's me gone. I'll walk away. But I think,
I'm trying to think of other like day-to-day things.
it also is, a lot of these questions is how you perceive. I'm gonna come up and join you on your level because I'm very much crouching. It is how you perceive rejection, because some people might not think any of those, like they might not consider that a rejection.
Yeah.
Like, what is like, oh god, that was such a humbling experience, like, I can't believe that was denied of me. Someone might be like, that's not a rejection. Like, if you think that's a rejection, you're not in the real world. Like, I bet some people are like that.
But I think rejection in its like most core self is just someone saying no.
It's very objective.
I wonder what the dictionary definition of rejection is.
Shall I look it up?
Yeah.
I think it must be like objective as a thing, but subjective as like the takeaway from it. Right, rejection definition. Go. It is not loading. Okay, let's go. We got this. The dismissing or refusing of a proposal, idea, etc. The action of spurning a person's affections.
So is that like romantic rejection?
Some people are reluctant to try it because they fear rejection. What it means to reject someone, refuse to accept, use, or believe something or someone.
So yeah, I think it's fair to say hearing no.
I hadn't considered the rejection of beliefs. Like, because that said, like, opinions and whatnot.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually considered that, but that's probably one of the toughest ones.
Yeah.
Like, if you believe someone, it's like, that's not true.
Yeah.
That kind of is a rejection in itself, but I would think of that more as, like, a disagreement, or, like, just a matter
that you're
of...
still rejecting something.
Yeah. Not believing.
Your body rejects something.
My body rejected a piercing. Oh, well, that too. I had the Daith piercing to alleviate migraines, and then my body rejected it and continued to give migraines. Piercing? It's not there anymore. It's that.
Like, where would it be there?
There. I don't know if you can see it or like can feel it at all. Can you see it all? Like there's a little like
bump in your
cartilage. Is that where it was? It's because it came out. Like, I just found it on my shoulder, not like the skin, obviously. I found the earring, whatever, on my skin. I was like, God, it fell out, and I was like, there's no hole there anymore. Like, it was gone, and that's why it's just healed over. So I'm not sure if I can ever get that bit pierced again.
You've not got any cartilage there to pierce.
Yeah, there's like nothing there. But on this side, perfection probably. Don't look at my ears, guys. Don't zoom in. But like, yeah, that's some sort of rejection. But that's very neutral. Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, so we did ask you guys a lot. We're gonna go very broad with the first one. I know you just saw it. I watched you do that.
And I didn't realise what I was seeing until I saw it.
Did you see the percentages?
No, I obviously know which one won.
I think, okay, the question was for you guys. Do you fear rejection? And then in the corner, I just put like romantic, career, anything else. Like, just however you define it. Do you fear it? Yes or no? What won?
Yes.
What was the percentage?
97.
It wasn't quite. It was 88% said yes.
Oh, I clearly didn't see it that well.
But then, to be fair, when you look at the bars, it does look like, not that you'll be able to...
97.
That does look like a huge amount, which it is. 88% is like a wild majority. What did you say?
I kind of thought yes, because obviously it's not a nice experience to have. However, it's kind of... I feel like this is going to keep coming out throughout the episode. It's only awkward if you make it. Yeah. So I think I'd fear rejection less in my adult life than I used to. Because I kind of have the attitude now, and I say it to people quite a lot, like, I don't get embarrassed often because I tend to reject embarrassment. Yeah. Like, I'll be like, something's embarrassing, but I very rarely kind of feel embarrassed. Because it's like, embarrassed isn't even a real emotion.
No, it's like cringe. We'll talk about this. I think there's a whole other episode about that, but like,
it's not a real emotion. Because
you
how
choose...
do you feel embarrassed? Like, what even is that? So I just kind of reject it.
You
I
reject
embarrassment.
rejection.
Yeah, I reject rejection. I think
that's the ultimate, like, F you to rejection, is just like, reject it. Like, don't let it even be there.
Like, I kind of, now that I think I'm quite a well-rounded person in most of my thought processes, I kind of approach things and think like, oh, someone reminds me, normally Liz, like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Like, they say no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, yeah, like,
that is factual.
So I think I fear it to a certain extent, and then I can kind of talk myself out of it because I overthink everything.
Yeah.
So I think that there's always, for me, like, fear of rejection, and then I kind of get over that. You know, so it's not a yes or a no for me. Like,
yeah,
yes, I have a fear of rejection, but I am aware of that, so I work over it.
I also put yes and no. I said, I kind of broke up, said, like, romantically, I lean towards no these days. Upon growing up, I feel like you are faced with base level embarrassing, in quotes, like, embarrassment over things. But once you've had those experiences and stuff, you can't really fear the same rejection again, because you kind of, well, you can. I don't as much, because it's like, it's done. So I said, for example, asking someone out, there's a finite number of ways someone can reject you, usually. So removing that unknown, and this is like the worst that can happen is they say no, or it's a no. It removes a lot of the fear, because you can always be like, that might be the case, and then you become more neutral about it, and then it takes away the fear. It doesn't take away thinking about it, but it takes away, like, the negative connotations and, like, the scared element of it. And I said I'm slightly more fearful of, like, career-based rejection, simply because, to me, there's more at stake there. Like, if I'm just
a lot of effort.
Yeah, if I'm just being real. If it's like, oh, it's just some guy, like, there's always some guy. There's always, like, another person. Do you know what I mean? If someone else is attractive out there, I can't fully defend that same statement for, like, a dream job.
Yeah.
And I think to be able to be like, there's another dream job out there, that probably is true, but in that moment, I don't think I could take away all of the fear of rejection just based on that, because, I don't know, that does come around less often.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking that in cases where my worst case has been, like, they say no, it does feel rubbish. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, just don't feel sad about it. It does feel like rubbish, and you kind of mourn that for a bit. But in the end, it happened, and life just goes on. Like, I think that's the craziest thing about, like, having mature emotions, is that you get upset about things, and then, like,
everything else continues
it just
the
kind
same.
of happens. I can think of, like, a handful of things where, like, worst case happened, and, like, life just goes on, and you don't really think about it all the time. Now and then you'll be like, God, yeah. But it kind of just happens, and I think it's overcoming that rejection. I think it's like, I think I prefer that than, like, rejection is redirection, because I think sometimes it's not always redirection, it's just you need to overcome that. So, like, for example, when I got rejected for my PhD funding, it didn't redirect me. I just needed to get over that hurdle. Yeah, so I think it's not always redirection. I think sometimes it's just, like, something else you need to get
using
past.
your example for your argument with the funding, it didn't redirect you because you still get the same result,
because I wanted to do it, and it made me realize how much I wanted to do it,
and you were still
just because I got that rejection, I was
pursue.
like,
like, it didn't change anything about the route. It was just a bump,
but I think,
and now you're in the same place.
But I think that was one of the biggest fears of rejection that I've had in a while. Yeah, because it was something that I always wanted to do, and I didn't think it was possible to do it without that, and I would have lost my job if I didn't get it, and things like that. So that was my biggest fear.
What, the actual getting the place, not the funding? About the
they
job?
Were both hand in hand, weren't they? Because I didn't think I could do it without the funding.
Oh, either.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So that was kind of, I feared the rejection, but I kind of wish I didn't, because what was being scared gonna do?
Yeah, we wouldn't have changed it really.
Yeah.
This might lean into more, and we can talk about it later when it comes to like tips for overcoming. But I saw this thing on Reddit, and it was, and I couldn't find it again. I screenshot it, and then I just
Oh, no,
couldn't
is that what you were
find it.
looking
Yeah,
for?
it was a really nice quote, and I was gonna save it for later, but it kind of makes sense here. Like, if you're stressed about what could happen, what could not happen, you're borrowing grief from the future that you might still have to face at some point. Like, if
Did you share this on Instagram?
I don't know. I might have sent it to you. I might have done something. I
Yeah.
might have shared it. Who
I
knows?
think it might have been on your story.
It could have been. If I've screenshot a Reddit page and put it on my
Oh, yeah,
story,
true.
then it might be a cry for help.
No, I
don't
don't
know.
think you did do that.
But yeah, like you might still have to face the rejection later. If you get told no, that's not
Yeah.
great, whatever it is. Like when my rejection of law, whatever, that was horrible. And I actually didn't really fear it before that much, and it's kind of good because I would have been borrowing, like I had a lot of like sad emotions then and like forward, but I would have been borrowing some from there that I was always going to have to face, and just unnecessarily bringing it forward into where I was at the present.
Yeah, and it's, if everyone experiences rejection at some point, if none of us did anything,
Yeah.
then we wouldn't be facing rejection. But ultimately, everyone can't get their way all the time.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that later because it is kind of like unfortunately hard truths. But I just said like the more you want something, the more fear there is because like sometimes you know in your heart as well if you really truly want something. Sometimes not like all the time, oh, you're going along for it for the sake of it. But sometimes you have to think like how much do I need it? How much is it just like excess on top of what I already am planning on having, getting, the patio and everything like that? Because sometimes you'll get rejected and you'll be like, oh, I didn't even want it that bad anyway. It's just the annoyance of thinking that you might get something, but you don't necessarily even want it. Like, you know, if like a guy hurts you or something, you're like, I didn't even like you enough to have all this. So then why would you fear beforehand?
Yeah, I think that's like one of the worst things. Is it when you get rejected for things you didn't want?
Yeah, and it's like, well, what about it?
What was the? I think that's sometimes the harder one to feel positive about.
When I got
it's like, what good does that do for me?
I got rejected from Soho House first time. I was like,
Oh,
ouch,
I love this
ouch.
story.
Second time got rejected. Each time the rejection was just slightly less and less, and more just like, well, I don't want it now anyway. Like, what the hell? Guys, I got my new job and I kept getting rejected from that same Soho House job. Like
It
the
must
emails,
have been some weird
like
glitch where they had like, because Soho House is a group interview, and it must have been some weird glitch where you just kept getting put back on the list of people doing these group interviews. That Eliz must have gotten like 50 Soho House rejections. She was settled in her job.
And it was so annoying. So I don't need it now, but I'd refresh my inbox and two would come in at once. I'd be like, guys, I got rejected from Soho House again.
But the thing is that sometimes when you get rejected from things, it can make other people feel better. Because I was working with a girl once, and she got rejected from a job, and she was like, "Oh, it's like really sad." And I was like, "Yeah, it's really sad, but like you've only just graduated and this and that." And then I was like, "If it makes you feel better, like Eliz, yeah, she interrupted her studies and she got rejected from Soho House like 50 times, and I've never seen anyone laugh so hard."
That's so. I didn't know I was used to it.
I told you this at the time.
Like I don't remember that in my brain.
I told you at the time.
That's so funny.
But, like it's like you get rejected and it makes other people feel better for being rejected. Do you know what I mean?
If anyone wants to use that story to make other people feel better, go ahead.
Because trust me, it works like that. Like, imagine getting a job rejection while you're. Oh, I've got my funding rejection while I was at work, but like that's one of the worst scenarios you can get a rejection because you just kind of had to be like, and it was one of those envelope packing shifts. So then you're just there. Everyone's probably like, what on earth is your job? So you're just there like mindlessly packing envelopes.
Yeah, if you're like busy
just
doing
gotten
something.
a job rejection like that, awful.
I got the job rejection that I really wanted. I feel like some of these stories might make you feel better. I've had a lot of rejection this year that I can actually use here to make you feel better. The job I wanted, it was the dream job at the time. I was about to go to work at Urban. I had to leave in literally 5 minutes, and we were like about to say goodbye to each other. Got it through, and oh, I got an email from whatever, and then I just was like, oh. Well, I didn't get it then, did I? Came upstairs, cried for a minute, and I was like, I have to go to work now, bye. left for like 9 hours. Like, there's been so many of these throughout the year that, again, this might fall into like the tip side of things, but like you have to have humor if you're gonna like put yourself up for things you might get knocked down. If I didn't have a sense of humor this year, I don't know what I would become. Like, you have to like almost laugh through it, and that might be a coping mechanism, but it does work.
Well, I don't know if we ever said this. When we were technically student radio, we put ourselves up for like 3 student radio awards. Yeah. And we didn't even get rejected. We just never heard back. And then all the nominations got put out, and we were like, what? Like, I thought we were doing like really good things. Like, especially we say this a lot, but student radio wasn't very trendy when we started. And we were like, are you kidding me? Like, we have like an active following. Like, not even in like a big-headed way, but we were like, we have so many people listening.
We thought we were capable
of
the thing.
And we were like, we're going to get at least one. Like, absolutely, we're going to get at least one. We didn't even get a rejection. We still wonder if we didn't like apply properly.
We never paid the money. This is the thing where I'm like, I actually don't know. And if anyone who did student radio did get nominated or whatever, or have just been there, we were told we had to pay £25 to apply, and then there was never anything to pay. Like, we didn't pay. It never asked us to. You would think you'd have to, like, put your details in before submitting. You didn't have to.
But I remember that hit us really hard. I think that was our probably first rejection for the podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
And we obviously have so many now, guys. Like, I feel like more will come out throughout this episode. Like, I don't want to say more now, but ultimately we always get rejected.
We don't always get rejected.
We don't always get rejected. We get rejected a lot.
We've had enough.
We set our sights high.
You have to, like, it's that thing where it's like, if you aim for the moon, even if you fail, you'll fall among the stars, which I think is from The Fault in Our Stars, I want to say. Something like that, I don't know. But, if you keep shooting, you like, something's gonna don't shoot. If you keep shooting your shot, something's gonna land somewhere.
Yeah.
Like,
and I feel like we have that attitude when it comes to this.
We'll move on to the next poll. However, you know I like me a quote. So Michael Scott, he had that thing on his board where it was like, what is it? You miss 100% of the chances you don't take, or something.
The shots you don't take.
Shots you don't take, and then it was like by a quote, and then quoted Michael Scott, something like that, right? We just go with that. I feel
like that's the energy you have on these episodes. Like, by a
quote something. By this. Next, I've got another quote in a bit as well, to the point where, like, look, I'm going to show you right now, but I've singled the quote out, like, it's right there.
People keep texting us the quote that Eliz had on last Champagne Whispers, what was it? Keyboard.
In the plan to self-fulfillment.
That you can't just use all your words on your friends. You need to use it on your own.
And it's facts. I'm using that to the death.
Why wouldn't you give us a student radio award? Look at us.
But I think a few days after, we were talking about something, and I was like, I just need to film my, like, self-fulfillment plan. Like, I'm using it myself in day-to-day life. Right.
Oh, gosh.
The next question box was, would the thought of rejection stop you from pursuing something exciting? What one? It was, it would stop me. I would continue with worry. It would kind of cross my mind, or no fear, only optimism.
The second one.
Yeah. It actually joint won. So that alongside it would kind of cross my mind both got 41%. Surprisingly, that this actually is quite wild to me. 18% of people said no fear, only optimism. Like, I love that. But actually, no one said it would stop me completely. Interesting, right? I thought some people might say it would stop me, but I'm glad we're at a place where, like, it's not that.
I wonder if it's because we have slightly older listeners.
True.
Because I feel like when I was younger, I wouldn't do it. Like,
what would you vote for now, current day?
It would cross my mind.
I think I would continue with worry. So you might be slightly better. Well, not better, but
yeah.
Like, better, more positive.
Yeah. I think there's like a sweet spot where either I do something and I don't think about it, and I know you think the same thing about me. If I don't think about something and I just do it, then I won't be nervous. I won't be worried about rejection or anything.
Impulse is good in that sense.
But I do overthink everything I do. So then there's kind of like this middle area where it's like fear probably would stop me a little bit. But then once I get over that, I kind of talk myself out of it. I think I kind of have the like set steps in my head that means that I know when I'm kind of thinking irrationally, because it is a bit irrational to not do something because it might not work out.
Having other people around you in that sense is probably good as well.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you if you just need to do something.
Yeah.
Like, just stop. Like, just do it and then don't think about it again. It's like a good... If you've thought things through, which I think... I say this to you, and I mean it for a lot of people. If someone starts saying ideas out loud of what they want to do, they're already at the point where they've thought things through.
Yeah.
So it's not a case of, I don't want to do it. 'Cause otherwise, we just simply wouldn't really talk about it if it's something we don't want to do.
Yeah.
So you obviously do. So that's when I'm like, okay, just do it, and then stop talking about it. Just like, do the thing, and then deal with it after.
Yeah. Eliz always gets up with me, because I talk about things for like days before I do them. She's like, just do it. And I'm like, it needs to be right.
Where I feel like I'm a little bit more like the last minute where I've like really like in my mind it's a foolproof plan. I'll say something, but then if you're like, really? I'm like, what? Like I had this thought through. Like this is my plan.
And do you think like are you sure?
Like, what do you mean? So the thing is, I said I would continue with worry, but this is my little caveat. Unless I thought I was actually unqualified. Like, there is a difference between, like, aiming high, whatever. You can actually be not right for something, and you know in your heart that you're not, or, like, this person is, like, not right for you, whatever. I am actually not going to set myself up for failure of doing things. Like, if I know I'm not qualified for a job,
and it is the energy
that
you're putting into something for it to not work out.
Yeah, like, if I need to protect my peace or something like that, or, like, I know... Obviously, you can say, I know the outcome and you don't, but sometimes you really do. Like, a job, I'm not going to be a solicitor if I start applying for that kind of stuff, because I just don't have it in me. But, you know, like, other things, like legal experience and whatnot, then there's a bit more, like, continue with worry.
Yeah.
But I said, if I was otherwise confident, like, I thought I had a good shot, because you kind of, like, gut feeling, you know, somewhat. It's not the wildest idea, and if I said something to you and there wasn't the like, what? Then you know it's somewhere in the realm of what you can do-ish. I think I would still apply or do the thing, ask the person, whatever. Because I've said here, and I'm glad obviously no one said it would stop them, if it stopped you, you're 100% gonna get the disappointed outcome.
Yeah.
There is no other way.
Yeah.
The thing you want, you will not get because you've not even taken any steps to like get it at all.
I put a similar thing down. I said it shouldn't stop you, full stop. Like,
stop.
I actually wrote full stop and then I put a full stop.
Nice.
Because it's like you don't know what's going to happen. Some of the best things that have happened for the podcast was just because we chanced it. And we just like
big weekend.
You
big
guys.
Weekend. We were like, we're just, you know what? We've never done anything press before. Let's just send this to Radio 1.
Yeah,
big weekend.
We're probably leaking our ways. Like, everyone's gonna be there now, but we just emailed BBC
Well,
One.
it was specific people. Like we did the research
and we
to find
just
the people.
Emailed, and we were like, "Hi, like we're a new radio show. We'd love to come and like do some coverage. Like we're about to launch a YouTube channel. We'll do reviews. We'll try and get some interviews done." And they were like, "Yeah, do you want 1 or 2 days? We already had tickets to one day."
Like,
and they were like, "Oh,
yeah,
I guess we'll do the whole weekend." All of a sudden, in the press area, I can't even name names, but we were there and we were talking to some people, and they were like, "Your press wristband gets you into more places than the artists."
We were like, "Yeah, cool."
And guys, like,
we did it.
We had no experience. We barely knew anything.
Sometimes
we didn't have a YouTube channel yet.
Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, because I think that might have been our first video. It was a
was.
vlog. Blind confidence is like an amazing thing, and being naive, unless you're being like ignorant to things, being naive is one of the biggest blessings, because you don't even consider any of this stuff rejection. Like,
yeah, and it's like, I can't tell you guys how many emails we've sent for Blonde Vibrations. I couldn't even try and tell you how many artists managements we tried to contact, how many like press lists we tried to get onto, how many interviews we tried to set up. And you know what, I couldn't name you the ones we didn't hear back from, or the ones that said no. I actually couldn't, because the ones that have said yes, and the people who, even if they've been like, not this time, but like
that it's still making
next
the
time,
connections
you know what I
and
mean?
getting
Like,
there.
it's, I don't remember the rejections. Well, I do remember a couple rejections,
I remember some of them,
but
like
they never stopped us from doing something. Like, we
Yeah.
never lacked something because we didn't have it. We just did something a different way, or
yeah, because I think even like,
pushed it back.
so we got rejected for Reading Press this year, and I think like we had a bit of like a unnerved feeling about doing it, because we were like, they were like,
we've been rejected before.
Yeah, and we were like, we're not entirely, because this is the first year we actually got to the application. We didn't get it before. It was just we blind shot in the dark before, so we didn't hear back. But this year we're like, oh, we have a pretty good chance. But there was just something we were like, we're not quite sure if we're gonna get it. So I feel like in that sense, what I've put here, it does kind of provide a bit of motivation. We might not get it this year. We'll be in a stronger place for next year. Like, each year that we apply, we're gonna like get the gift of the gab a bit more in terms of the application process, and it can make it as strong as it can be. Because I think I remember saying to us, like, when we did it, like, we've done all we can. There's not anything else we can physically put in it. If we don't get it, that's just fact. We don't get it.
I think that was one of the hardest rejections I think we've had.
Yeah, because we got it in a meeting.
we got it, and everything happened from that meeting. So it's not even like I can remember like the positive out, but
something that's still ongoing.
Yeah, so,
and there'll be a positive outcome from that.
That was one of the hardest rejections, other than my funding. That, like, this year, I think that's the worst one, because it was so, I think rejection is its hardest when you don't quite know what more you could do, and some of our friends got it. The camera cut up, but yeah, I think that was a really hard rejection, because we didn't have like a set reason why we didn't get it. It was an automated response.
No, like, feedback.
Some of our friends got it and they had more followers, so that I understood. And then there was some people who didn't have more followers, and I really couldn't understand what they had that we didn't have. I think that was like, it was really hard, and it's probably because we don't get rejected from a lot of festivals. I can say that completely plainly. We get, like, when it comes to festival press, even our wildest shots, we got Park Life Press, and that was one we were like, we're not going to get that. That's huge.
I think a lot of people can like relate to this in like other things they do.
Yeah.
Like, if it's an automated response and you're a bit like, but I would have liked to have known why, because especially if it is the kind of thing where you know it's your path, it's not redirection.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be applying for it again. I'd like to know how I can make it stronger. So sometimes it's the rejection where it's just rejection. Yeah. It's not rejection, but here's how you can improve.
Yeah, and it's you don't understand why, and I think this tends to come out a lot with like romantic rejection. Yeah. So sometimes it's like, but I don't understand, like, and it's such a horrible thought to have, but you kind of think like, but why? Like, why didn't you like me?
I had that this year. So I'm just gonna put that out there. I actually had that. And I'm gonna say it because people might feel better hearing it as well. Like, you know when someone just doesn't like you and there's no reason?
Yeah.
Like, there actually doesn't seem to be one, and they've said themselves, like, there's no reason. It's like, but like, what do you mean? Like, there must be something. If you like someone as a person and there doesn't really seem to be anything else like lingering in the way,
yeah,
someone just doesn't like you. And I'm like, it would have been easier if you were like married or moving to another country.
Like, I just don't like your tattoos. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. You'd be like, oh, like,
there's something.
That's why. But just to hear, like, I don't know, I just... Like, but then we say this and we feel this way about people.
Yeah, I actually have something about that later on.
It's really hard when you're on the receiving end of that, is that, like, that was so big-headed to say. Like, we have that with people.
No, I didn't want to cut that off early, but I have such a, like, point to make later.
But yeah, I just think it's easy to say, like, just don't feel embarrassed and like just do it, and if you miss you miss, but if you win you win, like, because sometimes the misses are really hard,
And you don't get clarity of the
yeah,
situation.
And, I mean, I'm kind of going into the next one, but like that then causes you to be more scared to then do shots again. Like, boy oh boy, am I nervous for that Reading and Leeds festival.
But we're gonna
press
do
application this year. Like, that is like I literally had a meeting with someone from admissions about my funding application, and it was basically a therapy session where I was like, I'm so nervous about how upset I was about that rejection that it's making me nervous to do the application. And I guess this kind of helps other people, because she was like, if you get that nervous, just don't do it.
That's such a good one for your situation.
But it's like I think we're saying, like, don't let it stop you. But if it's actually not completely life necessary, just don't do it. Like, getting to Reading Festival's press isn't necessary. And if it was to cause me that much anxiety, which I'm the kind of person it probably would, we just wouldn't do it.
If it was for your position on your course, that would be a different story. Yeah. But you are on the course. Yeah. So it's you are doing things.
I think we've just kind of been like, don't let it stop you. But also, if it's that emotional for you.
Me. I can't physically do my exams again. Yeah. I can't, like...
People might not know.
Okay. Sorry. I actually don't want to get into it too much, because it was, like, probably...
Do you want me to do the crash course?
No, it's fine. Like, it was... I feel like I so, like, tease parts of this, like, on the show. Like, because it was probably, like, the most life-changing rejection I could ever get, is, like, going through uni, doing law, getting to the point where you will do these exams and then qualify as a solicitor, and then not getting it, and then you can't carry on for, like, a plethora of reasons.
And
but
you would need to redo these exams in order to qualify.
Yeah, like, there's just many circumstances which mean it would be very, very hard to do it, but without doing these, I can never do the next stages. Like, I can't. Well, I can obviously change in the future, but because that is the kind of thing where it's like, that will cause me so much, like, different kinds of stress in different parts of life, I simply will protect my peace. Yeah. And yeah, I might do in 5 years' time where I feel, like, stronger, but I cannot do that. I would love to, like, strive for pure optimism, blind confidence, but sometimes you do just know there is too much at stake there.
And it's almost similar to when people go through, like, life-changing breakups.
Yeah, like a divorce.
And they're like, actually, I can't date right now. Like, I can't do that because, like, that is a rejection part, but also, like, just it's a vulnerable thing to do something in which you're at risk of rejection.
Like, for your own, like, mental health and, like, sanity at the end of the day.
Yeah, then it's not worth... I think there's a line between fear of doing it and, like, the fear of rejection and the capacity for rejection.
Yeah, if you physically cannot handle, if you have to either go through something or go through something again, unless you really have to, don't, like, or at least put it off as much as possible until you're a bit more, like, distanced from it, and you can, I don't know, I know you can take humour to a certain level, we can't always laugh your way through, like, a divorce and stuff. Not that we've gone through them, but from what I imagine. Yeah. So yeah, we'll go on to the next one, because they all, like, follow.
Yeah, they blend in very nicely.
This next one was, what parts of rejection are you most conscious of? This is so interesting. So what one? Being stopped from progression, other people knowing it happened, feeling a shift in my self-worth, or all of the above, unfortunately.
Self-worth.
Yeah.
That was purely strategic, because I that's what I would vote for. Like, not a lot, maybe, like, 46.
You were quite close. So 50% of people said a shift in my self-worth, 22% of people said everything, 17% of people said being stopped from progression, and 11% of people said other people knowing it happened. What did you say you said?
Self-worth. Because, I mean, it was kind of like a self-worth asterisk, because I fear about my own reaction, but I think also, like how to respond to things. Do you know what I mean? Like if you asked someone, like, ow, and they were like, no, how on earth do you respond to that? Like, to the person and to yourself. Yeah. Like, I think that's why I think self-worth, because I think, like, with a lot of things, I know how to respond to situations, but sometimes you're like, gosh, how am I supposed to respond to that? Like,
well, like if it's not like
how am I
huge
supposed to
things,
move on from that?
what, just something that's a bit like out of the ordinary, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah, and you're like, this, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
Case study for this. I like you. I thought you were joking. How do you?
True story.
True story. 2023.
Oh gosh.
That's very much like. What do you say to that one then? Like, I'm sorry. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I wasn't. That's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, and I mean, self-worth is obviously explanatory with our examples.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why am I not good enough to cover your festival?
Yeah, or like
why am I not good enough to be a solicitor?
What about me gives humour and not
Romance.
Potential life partner? Someone you would like to kiss, but no, you just laugh at them instead.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard to overcome that. Like, and I don't have an answer for that because
just practice.
Yeah, because like for example, people on my course, pretty much all of them are funded. And I sit in a class with them and I'm like, oh my god, like I can see why you got funding.
True.
Like, so I actually don't have an answer because I haven't.
That's probably a niche example, but in that, the answer would be like funded or not.
You will, but yeah,
all reach the finish line. Is that a good way of saying that?
But yeah.
I said I put all of the above, but I actually...
That's crazy because you wrote the questions. That makes sense.
I wrote all of the above, but what I really mean is all of them, but the one that... And I feel like people don't want to say it is the people knowing about it.
Really?
I feel that way, and it's unpopular. Like not many people said it, to be honest with you, because you don't want other people's perceptions to change things, but they do. Like, if you lived this world and no one knew the movements you were making, you'd probably take more risks, and you wouldn't really have to, like, say much about it. So I said, like, if my friends knew less about my moves, like, preemptively, like, I would probably take more risks. Like, if I was like, I'm gonna apply for this thing, and then you know that in a few weeks people are going to be like, how did it go? Like, tell me more. And you have to be like, oh, I don't know. Or like...
when we got back from Leeds Festival, people kept asking me who we interviewed. And
really?
I had to be like, I actually didn't go as press. Like, I actually, I just did the backside barrier for Billie Eilish. Like, yeah, no, I didn't.
No, we spoke to ourselves.
I did not step, like, anywhere near Central C.
Yeah, so it's like, it's difficult if you know people are going to bring it up, because like, again, back to like the law school thing, like, one of my like regrets was like telling people I'd done the exams, because in my mind, if no one else knew, you could work on it within yourself, and the feelings of self-worth and like the stop from progression you can deal with like from within in your own time.
Yeah, you also have people then being like, so when are you going to reset?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm not going, like, I'm done.
The amount of people that ask that, or like, so what are you going to do now? Or like, are you allowed to carry on? Can you afford it? And all this. I'd be like, I just got this. Yeah. I don't know myself. I don't have an answer to give me yet. I don't have an explanation for you. And like, not to say...
so unprecedented.
Yeah, that's not to say that they're being mean. Like, they're obviously just being supportive friends, because if no one brought up the things they knew you were doing...
Imagine if you just started applying for full-time jobs and like no one had been like, like why aren't you going to class?
Like, if I hadn't brought up anything and I just did that, I won't be able to bring it up. And also, this is...
The thing is as well, with some people you just live life not telling them.
We
have like set people that like we frequently tell them about my life updates, and then it just never goes over to Eliz, and it's like, what do you think she's doing in day-to-day life?
This is such a like home truth. This is about to get real vulnerable on the show right now. I don't like going home that often. I can't bear the thought of running into anyone I went to school with, because they all know what my dream was. Like, everyone knew.
Yeah, it was like your whole personality.
Yeah, like, that was like, I was Elwood's. So the thought of having to then be like, no, unless this does its thing, because that, I think it'd be like, I got a new passion. Like,
I tell people
you
about
know,
this.
yeah, and I will, but, like, in terms
need
of
to
the job we
process
have
it.
right now and everything, like, I can't let them know. And that is part of why I feel confident in saying it's because of people knowing.
But would you look down on someone then?
I personally wouldn't.
I can't think of someone. I'm so sorry, Caitlin. If Caitlin came to you and said, I'm no longer a makeup artist, I am a delivery driver.
I wouldn't. And this probably comes up later and like, do you take your own advice, whatever. But like,
But you wouldn't.
no, because it's an inner thing. And I think that's where I've said like progression setbacks is like it's very disheartening and whatever. Like if you feel like your work truly isn't enough.
Yeah.
But like for myself, well, I'm not good at discussing feelings anyway. If you were very much wear your heart on your sleeve type person, you would probably be able to go to the people closest to you and talk about it more. And then the other things of like actually being stopped would be able to like come up more.
Yeah, I think the more I spoke about my funding rejection, the more content I felt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it still is like, even now, I think because mine comes up a lot in day-to-day life, because people are like, oh, what are you doing at the moment? I'm like, oh, I'm doing funding applications. And they're like, for what? And I'm like, oh, I'm currently like, on Thursday, people at work always joke about how much I'm there. So I'm technically part-time, but I almost work full-time. And everyone always jokes like, oh, you're always here, and I always just laugh. And then someone asked me, and they were like, you must have so much money. And I went, well, all the money I make here goes on like living.
Rent,
I was like, so I don't get a student loan. They were like, I thought PhD students get a student loan. I went, no, my whole student loan goes on my fees. I work for a living. And they were like, God, I didn't know. And it's like things like that, like I then have to go through like, oh yeah, so I actually like got rejected from funding, and that's still really hard. But I think when I talk to people who I'm close to, and like they're like, God, you self-fund.
Yeah.
Like it's still like, oh my God.
This is
But
like
when you're talking to friends about it, rejection isn't a scary or embarrassing thing when you're talking to the right people.
Especially like within the same cohort that everyone kind of like is at similar things each time. Will you, so if you get to the end of your PhD, this is just nothing to do with rejection, but also somewhat uplifting. You get to the end of your PhD having done what you've done this year, whatever. Will you feel a sense of like extra pride?
Probably, yeah.
That's also a good spin on it then.
Yeah.
Like you would feel better.
Yeah.
And that's,
so it's like rejection didn't end it. Like,
yeah,
we want has to mean an ending.
Yeah, we want positive. Like we're gonna end this more positively. It feels like it's a bit like a where are they going with this type beat, but like if that is a good thing to come from it. Someone else actually gave a fifth option for this, which was feeling annoying about like keep on going for something, which I think that lends itself really well to like creatives and stuff as well. Because if, say for instance, you email a manager and they're like, not right now, and then you email a month later and you're like, what about now? And it's like, yeah, shooting your shot, but if it's like real people on the receiving end each time and it's very like obvious who it is, it's not like anonymous submissions and stuff, it's like, God, like, am I really gonna ask them again? Can I interview you? I'm gonna ask again, but it's like, it's not annoying. You're not annoying. You are trying to work.
I think with the annoying thing, and I think it's harder when it's friend and romantic, or when it's creative work, things like that. We kind of worked really hard to rewire our brains to think like we're not being annoying, we're being persistent.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of changed that into persistence is a good trait to have, and it has gotten us a lot of places that I never thought we would, because we were persistent. And especially, I'm going to go on such a tangent here, but especially as women in, God, I did the same thing as I did earlier. Women in like creative industries, even like academic, in pretty much any industry, like you do have to be a bit more persistent. And I think the
firm-footed.
Yeah, the feeling that you are annoying is rooted in sexism, where it's you have to put more thought into it and put more effort into it to be heard.
It's
Because
also
like a man could do the same. Like a man could email and get it straight away, an interview straight away, whereas we have to be like, hi, really interested, hi, here's a copy of our previous interview with so and so, like hi, like prove ourselves a bit more.
So like when we email people, this is such a like harsh truth. We'll write an email to something industry and then we cut everything out so it sounds like a man emailed it, and that is the sad truth of being a woman.
We almost went through a phase of emailing as a fake assistant. We nearly we didn't, because I actually think it's more important that we kind of
continue with this.
Yeah, stay true as we do our own admin. We've found you, and we're putting the work in to find your work email and things like that. But we nearly did, because we were thinking
we just get rejected.
And also it will be less embarrassing when we do get rejected, because right now we know a lot of managers, and managers know us, and you tend to find that managers manage multiple people.
Yeah.
And we will keep asking them about different people, and then you see us at a place and you know it's us. So I feel like we kind of thought if we start emailing under a different name, you won't associate, I mean, people knowing, you won't associate rejecting us for that interview with actually us living at an event.
Yeah, it's also like, and this is probably a good little like end, go on to the next one, is if you fall at the first hurdle or whatever, and then you think, oh, I'm going to be annoying if I try again, like One Direction wouldn't be formed.
That's so. Who's gonna clean your toilet, Donald Trump?
Oh, I hate that.
Like, if they fell at this first hurdle, One Direction wouldn't exist.
Lady Gaga, what she know about cameras?
And like, you could be sitting in a room.
Yeah, it's giving that.
And only one person in the room is listening, but that one person could be the person to change your whole career.
But it is true. Like, it is true though. Like,
yeah,
Louis, right? Was it Louis or Liam? One of them went on there before, right? Liam.
And then he had a kid with one of the
the judges.
Yeah.
If Liam didn't go back and try again, we wouldn't have stripped that down. We also wouldn't have Pillow Talk, because that would have come way after. And we wouldn't have... Oh, you need to keep on singing though.
It's the thought in everyone's mind, seeing that shoulder. We don't need to say it.
We wouldn't have that random clip of Louis from the Rolling Stone Awards the other night talking about AI. And you're like, can't tell what's AI and what int. You wouldn't have that.
And honestly.
Yeah. And you wouldn't have her name is Noelle
or Slow Hands.
We could do that forever.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have any of those things that you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and I think it's important to
rewrite the stars.
I think it's important. I think it's important to rewire thinking like that. I think maybe that's the key of coping with rejection, is rewiring our thoughts. And I know we'll close up with thoughts like this, but I think annoying is one of them. I don't think it's annoying to try to do something because you're doing something to better yourself.
I have one more. This is romance related. People getting back together, like for the better later on. Ben Affleck and J-Lo, somewhere along there was probably rejection. They broke up, so like there's some sort of rejection from relationship. Like a gazillion decades later.
Yeah.
Bennifer is back.
And the more rejections you have romantically, the more you'll put yourself out there. I think you tend to have, like, when you first go through a breakup, you're like, I can't do it. And the first, like, rejection after that, you're like, oh my god, I can't keep doing this. But the more rejection you have, if something doesn't work out, you're just kind of like, okay, add into the list.
Yeah,
like
another one bites the dust.
People said to you, I thought you were kidding when you said you liked me, it wouldn't hurt as much.
I don't know. Like, it would eventually, like, you'd have to be like, lol, heard that one before. I like you though, so what about it now?
But don't be, if a person rejects you, don't be too persistent in that way. Because
No.
if they don't want you,
yeah, we're obviously talking
then
about career
self-worth,
and money moves, but like, let's not be creepy. Right, well, that's tip number 1 is persist, but don't be weird. Tips for dealing with rejection. Here's what some of you guys said. Keep going. Well, that's literally like what you just said. Keep going till you don't get rejected.
Yeah.
And this is a person. If it's
yeah.
X Factor, yes. If it's like that guy you know, walk away. Everything happens for a reason. The rejection will lead you down the right path.
I think in the moment of rejection, it's easy to say, and I'm not like diminishing it, it's easy to say rejection is redirection, like everything happens for a reason. I think that's like the step you need to take. And it's true, everything does happen for a reason.
Yeah, I think
that's like the first step, I think, for me when I get rejected.
I think like not necessarily an immediate redirection, because it's not going to be the case of like you leave this institution, academic one, and then the next day you're going to get a email being like, here's your dream job. Like, it's unfortunate that like everything will happen for a reason, and the right path will be there, even if at some, like, you can't really see it right now, and there'll be that in between time, but you have to like almost forward think of like at some point things will be clearer, even if it's a bit foggy right now.
That's really frustrating when like things don't work out, and then things don't work out, and then like, things and you're like, I don't understand, like I keep taking the rejections on the chin, and this keeps not happening the way I want it to, but there'll be a reason why it's not happening the way you want it to.
Yeah,
like,
I think
it's probably for the best that we want in the guest area for Leeds.
Yeah,
because Central Madeline was still dating.
I think I was getting that a bit like after like uni gone, and then like kept getting rejections from different types of jobs as well, and I think there was times I was a bit like, I don't quite know what the path is. And I think it's only kind of very recently, as in like the last week or two, that I've been like, I'm starting to somewhat see some sort of other path. I still don't quite know what it is, but I'm starting to narrow down the things that it's definitely not, and that's still
progress
leading me down something.
And I think once you're out of the scenario, like you're coming up to nearly a year, once you're out of the scenario, you can kind of look at it with new eyes.
Yeah.
And it's something that you won't have until gone a year, 2 years, maybe even longer. But I think...
Yeah, especially if it is like a relationship.
Yeah,
like I feel this right now.
I think at a certain point you can look back on it and think, I can see that wasn't right. Like, matter of fact is your studies there, it wasn't right.
I hated
you were
it.
So unhappy.
I hated it so
much. And it's for the best.
What is that from? I work like a dog. What is that? I said it the other day and I don't know what it is, but that's how I felt.
Yeah, and it's hard to see the rejection because you think I did those, like 6 months, was it?
Yeah.
Of this and it didn't work out. But could you have really done another 6 months? I don't know if you could have withstood.
Realistically, I would have been bankrupt.
Yeah, like
within like a month of that.
Like it was an awful rejection to have.
I don't know what the alternative is.
It was going to happen at some point. Like something was going to happen at some point. Yeah, and this is what I mean by like everything happens for a reason. It's not necessarily like you get rejected, but it happened for a reason because your dream job is, like you were saying, like your dream job's around the corner. No, sometimes it happens for a reason. It's because it was going to get worse. Yeah,
like it's derailing you from something that's going down. Like it's the pre-iceberg before the Titanic. Like
at least you've still got some hair. Like, I don't know if your hair could have withstood like another 6 months.
I don't know.
But I actually don't like. You were so stressed. If that rejection didn't stop you, I don't know what would have.
My heart would have stopped me.
Like actual no hair. Like, I don't know what would have stopped you, and it wasn't a healthy, like...
It wasn't
This
healthy,
feels
like...
like an intervention. Like, you needed to quit, you lot.
No, because like, I was running on... I'd have, like, my giant Starbucks cup of coffee, so I'd so many, was all I'd run on all day, and I'd be shaking all the time.
And you'd go, like, straight from class to work.
Yeah.
And then you'd come home, and you'd be unhappy in class, and you'd be unhappy at work. Like, that clearly wasn't the right route, and it's annoying because it was what you'd planned.
I used to go around the corner, so where my uni was, there was like a Pret around the corner, and opposite that was a direct block of view, like you couldn't see the building anymore, and I'd wait till I got there and then just cry.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't fun.
And that rejection stopped that. It caused more hurt.
Yeah,
but you don't know how much worse that hurt could have been.
At some point when I'm now in that, like, dream job, I'll be like... that was necessary, because and at least how far through would I have got?
You have a peaceful life.
Yeah.
Like, whether something's your dream job or not.
Some things you have to take in the moment to stop, to just,
chill out.
To kind of, like, it's like the lifeboat. You just have to get on the lifeboat.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise you'll drown.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's not, like, you're not out of that, like, harsh waters yet, but you're on something that's just going to keep you slightly more stable until you've reached the island.
Yeah.
I don't know. Island records. Yeah, nice.
Surely that can't stay in.
It could. Maybe I'll work there one day. And this would be a nice little ending. Someone
like leaking the dream job. Like after, like, it'd be easier if no one knows that you're working towards. Island Records, do you want to hire me?
Someone else said know your worth. I feel like that will be something that will get you through a lot beyond rejection. Just a lot of things. If you can hold your own at the end of the day, it's always gonna work. Someone else kind of said the opposite of this. Not like don't know your worth, but allow yourself to wallow from it and slowly build yourself up. I think you can have both those things, because you can know, like, I know I'm better than this place or this person, but right now I just need to, like, be upset. But I know I can reach the point of being okay.
Yeah.
And that's still, like, good steps, because no one's expecting you. If you've just come out of a 3-year relationship, 4 year, whatever, no one's going to expect you to turn around and be great after day one. You don't have to immediately be like, I DGAF, I'm better than that person.
Yeah, like, it's unrealistic to expect you to be completely fine with rejection. And I hope this is what we're, like showing by saying all the rejections that we had, is that, like, you will get rejected. Matter of fact.
Yeah.
And it will hurt. And you can't stop it hurting. But what you can stop is those negative thought patterns where it then puts you off applying for more jobs, and will stop you meeting new people and kind of
progressing in other ways.
Yeah, and also, like, you'd be amazed at, like, how when you rewire how you think about rejection, it can, like, pay off in other ways, because at the end of the day it's like hearing bad news, and when you kind of process that bad news, you'll be more equipped when you hear other bad news and things like that. And I find that with little things like that, I find that each time I get a bit better at responding to things, and I have better thought patterns. And I think if you can do the baby steps of, I got rejected from this job, I'm going to process this correctly, you'll then be able to process other things correctly.
Yeah, it's just becoming a bit more, like, neutral about things. Because I think I said this in, like, one of our first, like, Champagne Whispers about, like, body image. It's not necessarily have to jump to positivity straight away. You can be, like, have body neutrality, that's word, right? You have rejection neutrality as well. Like, you just see it as it is. Who out there thriving off of rejection?
I would love to know if there's anyone out there who, like, sometimes, like, I can see when we don't get like, for example, in the end we did thrive off not getting Leeds Press, because it was the one festival we did where we weren't working.
That's true. We really enjoyed it.
From festivals, it's like we go and we're like, oh my god, we're not working.
And yeah, if you can do the thing anyway, that's probably, if you can find a way to do the thing anyway based on, like, regardless of rejection. So your course, the festivals we did, we do the things anyway, and then you look back after and you're like, well, I did it anyway, so it didn't make a difference.
Also, like, interviews that haven't quite gone through. Sometimes when they nearly happened and then they didn't. Sometimes I'm like, well, like, why would that interview even fit?
Yeah, like, well, we would prefer it to actually be, if it's not the exact way I want it, I don't want it at all.
We often say this, don't we? We often, like, I would rather, like, 1,000 times over, Cassia, 1,000 times over, would rather wait for someone to be at a festival or backstage at a concert than do a Zoom interview. If the only thing you can offer me is a Zoom interview, I don't want it, and then I'm rejecting that.
Yeah, I had this. I was going to apply for something the other week, but I knew I wasn't in the best way. I wasn't physically prepared, so I'm going to do it in a year, or like whenever I choose to then relook at it. I'm rejecting even the thought of being rejected by it, because like, it's not for me, it's not the way I can do it right now. I'm not in the best place, so therefore they can't view me as my best self. Therefore, no, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do it when I'm ready.
And I think especially, I feel like everything we always say goes back to this, but especially with creative industries, you have to be so specific with what you do and don't do.
Yeah.
And I think we're lucky enough that we've always had that thought process, in that I would rather do 2 really good interviews than 6 like scraps of like information that I read about them on Twitter. And I think when you can see rejection as a way to kind of almost like specialize your experiences, you could have done that application, you could have gotten the position. Would you have been prepared for it?
No.
Like, you would have been there.
It would have been a fluke.
You wouldn't have felt content, you wouldn't have felt happy, and you wouldn't have been rejected if you were ready sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't help, like, our cases where we didn't get an explanation and things like that, but you kind of have to accept that if something is truly right for you, then it would have worked out. I think that's what it is. If it was truly right.
Yeah, and like, I actually just forgot the point I was gonna make. It might. The thoughts were. Yeah, it was like, no, it's not happening right now. No, I do remember it. I think I would rather be rejected if it was gonna like be different to what I wanted in terms of like the integrity of how I hold myself and stuff. You know, like, if you don't get the job you want, but they offer you a different position, I think I'd still rather the rejection than just like have some like side thing that I don't really care about, or like whatever, or in the interview sense, like be given something else. I'm like, but that's not how I want it. I'm gonna look back and regret it. You don't want to take things just for the sake of it.
Just so you don't get rejected.
Yeah,
so you don't get that no.
Just because it's something else. Like, I'd rather have the no and deal with it and work on getting something the same or better than like settle, I suppose. Unless like with jobs and things like that, sometimes you do just need the money and stuff. But like, if it is more like over base level quality of life, if it is like the day-to-day things that you just want, it's not a need, because they are like differences. You need to pay bills and stuff, so you need whatever job. Yeah, with festivals and stuff, like, I am aware that they are all privileges.
Yeah, it's a luxury that you even get to apply for things like that.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, with those things I would rather just rejection, because like we live a very like privileged life in that sense, so I don't want it to like ever come across that we're just like, we don't get these things and we
rejection. I can go to in the guest area.
Yeah, like, I know there's some things that you have to take the rejection and take the things when they're offered to you, but in this sense, this is just like the added extras.
Yeah, and it's also just generally cases of rejection and how you can process it. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah,
because for the most part, the process is the same.
Like luxuries and stuff like that, yeah, you don't need them, but then they can still like harm you mentally and stuff if you don't get them.
Yeah, and it's like that. It's a luxury, but it's also work and steps towards our career. That when we do get rejected, it's no different to someone getting rejected for like an internship and things like that. Like,
yeah, I have one that is slightly off. Whatever, is I think it can be really annoying if you get rejected for something, if you see someone else get it in a different way. Like, I'm going to be very vague about this, but like, I was talking to someone about something to do with like law, and they were just like, oh yeah, I'll probably get this because like my parents like work there, and I was a bit like, okay, but that's quite like difficult to see, but you have to manage that sometimes, and I guess this is a tip, manage that sometimes you weren't dealt those cards.
Yeah.
And that is a very difficult thing to see
Yeah.
people, basically nepotism and stuff. And if you weren't dealt those cards, you might have to work a little bit harder, which really is frustrating. But it kind of is seeing the neutral, like matter of fact things about it.
Yeah.
I also said,
and there will be things that set you apart from other people.
Yeah, like we're privileged in itself, so like we will always, like, we have to like count ourselves lucky for the things that we're given simply for being like able, white in this country and things like that. So there's always going to be things like that.
Like, I think if you find yourself, and I think it's normal to be like, well, that person only got it for X, Y, Z. You have to appreciate that sometimes people look at you and think that person got it for X, Y, Z.
Yeah, and I think this is like an important point to make as well, because in the pecking order of society, there's people far above us, simply the fact that we are not men. They are always the highest of the food chain, whatever. But we aren't the bottom, so we have to like simply accept the fact and work towards doing better in that realm. But like we will like get things, and we have to like be very grateful for the things we get and not take it for granted at all. What else have I got here? I said here, and I think this is to do with like romantic escapades and stuff, that just because someone is rejecting you, that doesn't necessarily mean that they hate you or you're like a bad person, but neutrally,
I always say this,
neutrally you are misaligned with that person. If they don't like you and they're like, I like someone else, that doesn't push you down in any way. You just don't fit, and that is okay.
I always throw around the hate word whenever we don't get our own way.
And I check you on it.
Always picks me up. I'm always like, I just don't see why they hate us.
And I'm like, but they don't. Like,
no, they just said no.
Okay, well, this is what I would say to you. Someone is allowed to reject you. No. As much as you are allowed to turn down offers, which everyone might not even think twice about doing it afterwards, they're doing the same. They might be like, no, or ignore a message or whatever. They are allowed to. They don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
We would probably do the same. The same person that has ignored us once upon a time, I've now not opened the message for. It works very back and forth. And I don't feel bad, so I can't feel bad if they do the same thing. Well, it's like, you know how, I think you've got somewhat better, but you know how you used to have loads of messages on delivered all the time?
Yeah.
And then, I forgot about this, and then we'd be like, if someone ignored you, and you'd be like down about it, we'd be like, but you do it to people. For every message you ignore, someone will ignore you.
Yeah, and then I kind of, because I like very like heavy karma believers. Yeah, I used to be really bad with messages. I still am, but I don't really tend to message people now because I know I don't have like the patience to respond. But yeah, I kind of was like, I need to respond to people, otherwise they're not going to respond to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the behaviour that you're picking out of someone else, someone's probably once picked up on you. It's like what we were saying earlier about like sometimes someone just doesn't like you and that's rubbish. At the same time, there will be times in which people like you and you don't like them, and you know deep down that there's nothing, like that's just a feeling.
Yeah, nothing inherently wrong with the person.
There, and you kind of need to remember that when you're being rejected and someone's like, I just don't like you, you've been in that position once before.
Yeah, definitely. And I also like the worst of it is like at the time, anything after that, like you are moving towards, like as soon as that bit's done, you actually just already start living in that reality.
Yeah.
That is
the shock of like reading the email or seeing the text or like seeing the scene thing, that's the worst. And then it just kind of gets better and you will just get to a point where you don't think about it.
Yeah, because
like you probably don't think about Soho House every day, right?
I think about partying in Soho House, but like less and less. Like, when we go past it, we'll talk about I love Bray Oaks. It's funny because I can get to that point. But when I first didn't get it, I was honestly gobsmacked. I was like, why?
And why can't I waitress?
Yeah, like I was a waitress before. But like, okay, so I'm not gonna lie to you. This was from Reddit as well. It is reality, so just act in accordance with the reality. Like, that's what it is. You get rejected. That's it.
There's
now.
Nothing you can do about
like that is your new reality. You didn't get the thing or the person or whatever spot in this, and now you just don't have it. You can work towards getting it next time, or like progress and feedback or whatever. But the thing you don't have, unless it's something you can appeal, you don't, and
Yeah.
that's that. And here's my quote. It's so silly. It was also from Reddit. You could be the tastiest peach in the world, and there will still be someone out there that hates peaches. Facts. I was gonna carry on, but I don't want to swear.
No, yeah, it's true. Like, because just because you're being rejected, it doesn't mean there's something lacking in you. Typically, it would be something lacking on the other side, whether that's like if you've gone up for a job and you didn't get it, they probably would have you.
Yeah.
But there's only one position. Like, if someone rejects you romantically, they just don't have that feeling towards you. Like, not saying that there's something wrong with them if they're rejecting you, but to a certain extent, like, the door closure is coming from them.
If you hold yourself that highly, you can be like, they weren't enough for me. They couldn't handle me and my ideas and my big brain.
And that's what I feel like this whole episode I've been like, I try not to overthink it and I try not to deep it, but I try not to deep it. Is that like, the way my brain works is that I could get really worked up over like a one-word message. If I sent someone a nice message and they were just like, this isn't about anyone, but if I sent someone a really nice message and they were just like, thanks,
yeah,
I'd be like, because I know everyone's probably thinking like, oh, but I haven't texted Olivia with thanks, but I, in my head, would probably be able to work myself up over that and be like, that is a rejection, I'm so embarrassed, etc., etc. But you just need to not think like that and just take it at face value, and that is a response.
Yeah,
or that is a job rejection.
I try and take text and stuff as face value. One of my like pet peeves is just getting like a lol back. I hate like a variation of a lol. I'll ignore it. That's like, I will choose to ignore. I'll reject the rejection I feel from like that as a response.
You used to get really worked up over that as well.
Yeah, I used to, but I'll ignore it.
Like, in a conversation, and like she could still be typing back in the day, and if you said lol while you're still typing, you'll stop typing and leave.
I'll just ignore
you're better
it now.
I think you're just like, if it's the end of the conversation.
Yeah, if any of you guys have experienced this and I just don't respond, it's because I don't like that, and that's just fact. I do it to you as well. Like, I'll do it to anyone.
I'll always say lol to Eliz.
Yeah, and I'll always ignore it like that.
I'm normally busy.
Like, that is the end of the conversation right there.
I'm normally busy, so I just put lol as a response. But if that happened to me,
and then yeah, if I said lol to you, would you think I was peed off?
Oh.
Would you think I was peed off with you? Maybe.
Depends on the context.
If it was like, you said this thing, like, God, this thing happened. I was just on the street and there's this thing, and I'm lol.
Yeah,
lol,
I would
slide off the chat.
Do that.
What, you'd get annoyed at me if I put lol?
I would send you that. No, I wouldn't. I'd open it and leave it.
What, the lol?
Yeah. Like, I told you the information, you responded, that's that.
What, even if you had more to say?
No, if I had more to say, I'd say it.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd leave it.
Well, we're getting sidetracked now. This isn't to do with rejection, this is to do with our texting habit.
That's also a good topic.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, well, you don't know the figures, do you?
No.
So, I asked you guys, do you find that you can take your own advice? Yes or no, I could learn a thing or two. What do you think the figures were?
70% no.
You were well close. 71% said no.
Normally I go for a little like rogue number as well.
29% of people said yes, which I really like that, because I just think you should be, if you can give it out, then you should take it back as well, internalize it.
Yeah, I like people who can like talk to themselves and like
big himself up a little bit.
Yeah, and also like step out of the situation and look at it. Like, what would someone else say to this?
Yeah,
like, I really appreciate that in like a person.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it is a part of growing, as someone else said. And I think we can all learn from either the things we've experienced, or the things that other people experience, or the fact that like it's it's part of life, just deal with it. But like, it's one of those necessary things. It like promotes character building almost. Like, at some point, if you got everything ever given to you, would you be striving for more? Or would you?
Also, you'd be awfully upset if you ever got rejected for something. If you lived your whole life with acceptance.
That's true.
And then you just got rejected at like 47. that would like,
if you get to 47, you never be rejected by anything. How?
that would like
what happened? to do
drive
that?
you insane, wouldn't it? Like you've not grown the skin to like handle
Thick
that.
skin.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, I think like the takeaway from today is like any of the tips, like if you feel like any of it resonates in a way of like I would like to learn from that, like it's not just like a checklist. As soon as you like get rejected, you need to be like, okay, I need to do this and this is like my 5 steps, and then next week I'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's never gonna be like that, and it could hit you in ways that you don't even think. It could also hit you like later on. You might get rejected by someone romantically, and at the time be like onwards and upwards, I don't care, and then like 6 months later you run into like a problem with someone else that you're talking to, and the things that you just kind of didn't really address before start to come up, and then you're like, oh, I never dealt with that. So like if you can start trying to deal with things sooner on and think like, how does this really make me feel like on the inside? Like if no one was like, if the eyes of the world weren't on you, how would you feel? Deal with it from within. Don't. Sorry, carry on.
No, I interrupted you.
I was just gonna say, you don't owe anyone an explanation to the world. If people knew online what you were doing, you don't have to then explain it. You go into hibernation mode for a bit and then come back and be like, what, law school?
Yeah. I think no one's ever going to thrive off rejection, but I think you can like use it to your advantage in a sense of growth. I think you can welcome it, because the more you welcome it, eventually you'll learn things from it.
You can utilize it to just give you the strength to do something else, like or learn from it. If we hadn't
had all our rejections from various managements and whatnot, we probably wouldn't send out as many as we would.
Yeah.
Like we'd nowhere near like some of the people we try and interview, like we wouldn't have done that because we'd be like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But now it's like, well, if they reject us, add them to the list. Like eventually it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, not that it doesn't matter completely, but it starts to become more like obsolete.
It's more desensitized because it's just another
bite-sized chunk of like no.
Yeah.
And that's fine, just put it in a little pile of no's. And then the yes will grow.
Yeah.
And that's a matter of fact.
Because you'll be getting 3 more.
Exactly. I feel like that's probably the end of things, to be quite honest with you. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for taking part. I feel like I've got positive feedback about that theme. So if you want like a spin-off, or if you have like more questions that you want to like poll, let us know.
I feel like I've learned some things.
Yeah, I feel very at peace.
I feel like I'm going to go out and I'm going to find my career.
Yeah. And if you don't, that's okay.
And that's okay. It happens. Life goes on.
I might watch this episode if I get rejected for my funding again.
That's true.
And
Lifegoeson. I said that to you. I said that to you the other week, and I was like, "What song is that from?" Was it in an episode, or were we just like chilling?
I can't remember.
Because I never looked it up, and I know it exists. So if you've heard that song, tell me, because I have no idea. Also,
questions and polls.
I cut my hair.
I cut your hair.
Well, my hair is cut, but I'm actually not going to show it right now because it's just pinned back. But I'll show you when it like looks nice.
Questions and polls for the week. Do you still fear rejection after listening to this episode? Yes, no. Question box.
What tip can you take forward into your life to welcome and utilize rejection?
Yeah,
that was kind of fire. I'm not going to remember that.
But thanks for listening. Make sure you go over to Instagram to enter our giveaway if you're still within the time for it. Follow us on Instagram, blonde_vibrations. That's where you can take part in all the question boxes and polls and help us pick the themes if there's something you want to hear about. Next week will be a platinum mixtape that will be Spotify exclusive.
It will.
So sorry if you don't have that, but the week after we will be back with Champagne Whispers.
Yes. We're gonna try our best to start moving into some Christmas
we're gonna
themed things.
Might be the next Champagne Whispers.
Could be.
It might be the next one.
It could be. You'll just see. We won't give away our secrets.
No.
Other than that, we're off to see Dolly Alderton now. We have such a busy week.
Yeah.
Like, we have such a, like, good week for, like, motivation
and
and whatnot.
So if you don't have Spotify, I'm sorry, because Platinum Mixtape is going to be filled with so much juicy gossip from our week.
Keep up to date with our TikTok because I'm gonna do some videos this week about what we're up to.
Fun vibrations.
Yay!
Oh,
See you
this
soon.
is so fun. Thanks for watching or listening, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.